Vice President Joe Biden calls the newest graduates of the Air Force Academy strategic thinkers as well as warriors and the future of the new world order. Biden spoke at today's graduation ceremony.
How can any American see what I'm standing before and not be optimistic about the state of this nation?
Biden also brought up the administration's plan to end wars overseas and the role these cadets will play in creating what he calls a new world order.
I believe we, and particularly you, your class, has an incredible window of opportunity.
There are 995 cadets graduating today. Of those, about half will be entering pilot training after graduation.
It's a very encouraging speech for sure, to know that he cares about the military and knowing where we're going and how we are going to be leaders for our Air Force.
This year's class also boasts 15 international students.
It's a surreal emotion, 4 years in the making.
One of the highest ever. Carlos Pacheco comes from Ecuador.
Something really challenging for myself and benefit for my country.
And as these graduates take their future to the skies, the Vice President's message to them is one of gratitude, duty, and pride.
But the end of these two wars affords us an opportunity. It allows us to refocus our intelligence and military assets and resources to other parts of the world where they are needed, where we face new challenges. This is the world you are graduating into. This is what I want to talk about today with you for a few minutes. I believe we, and particularly you, your class, has an incredible window of opportunity to lead in shaping a new world order for the 21st century in a way consistent with American interest and the common interest. Think of the possibilities. For the first time in history, the Western Hemisphere is in a position where it has the possibility of being middle class, democratic, and secure from Canada to Chile. The Pacific Basin, peaceful and prosperous. A new relationship with China where we cooperate and compete, but where conflict is not inevitable. A revitalized global trading order defined by greater integration and economic growth, where barriers are lowered at the borders and behind our borders, generating millions of American jobs, where intellectual property is protected and the playing field is level, and where major powers come together to deal with the challenges of our time that require us all to act in concert. And there are many challenges, including violent extremism that is becoming more diffuse, countries emerging from chaos in the midst of war, challenges to the international order on the high seas and in the skies, emerging threats in cyberspace, and for the first time in world history, the use of corruption and oligarchs as a sinister tool in the conduct of foreign policy. The President and I believe that all these challenges require the United States to stay engaged in the world, to lead, and to be a force for positive change. Because one thing we know for certain, if America is not on the field, the vacuum will be filled by anti-democratic forces that will attempt to shape a future around their selfish interest to the detriment of America and the world. But it's not enough to be engaged. It's necessary to have the wisdom and the humility to distinguish between those challenges that warrant us acting alone and decisively, and those challenges that require building coalitions and marshaling common action. and it will not be easy. It will take patience and persistence. But it's within our grasp. It can be done. It has been done before. America has done it before. In a moment of equally great change, the generation that launched this academy 60 years ago did it. At the end of the Second World War, Europe and Asia were in ruins. America faced not only daunting challenges, but immense opportunities. But a nation tired of war and wanting to come home. There was an overwhelming desire in your grandparents' and my parents' generation to bring home every single one of the 12 million forces that remain stationed in Europe and Asia. But the leaders of that day, they knew, that generation knew that America had to stay engaged. They knew that they had to lay the foundation for a new world order, a world order that brought the longest period of sustained peace in Europe and Asia and generated the most significant economic growth in the history of mankind. They helped write the constitutions of Germany and Japan that led to democratic governments and guaranteed that neither nation would ever possess a nuclear weapon. They formed the most significant military alliance in the history of the world, NATO, out of the ashes of war. They put forth the Truman Doctrine that stopped Soviet expansion. And in the midst of all the sacrifice Americans had made, they supported a Marshall Plan, a sustained multi-billion-dollar commitment to put Europe back on its feet in order to avoid a repeat of the chaos that followed World War I and led to World War II, generating economic stability that allowed democratic institutions to flourish throughout Europe, so that we can now say we're on the verge of a Europe that is whole and free and secure. So the challenges they faced were no less than we face. But they did it, and so can we. And this morning at West Point, just an hour ago, the President laid out our strategy as how it can be done. And today I want to talk briefly with you about the lines of effort we have been pursuing and must continue to pursue in the service of that vision and your role in that vision. First and foremost, our work begins by rebuilding America's foundations, our economic foundation, our moral, and our strategic foundation. We've been working hard to rebuild our economic foundations because of what we hope to accomplish in the world. We know it is not possible unless it relies on the strength of an economy at home that's the strongest in the world. And notwithstanding the Great Recession we inherited, we nonetheless start from a powerful position in the world. We are the world's largest GDP. We have the most innovative companies and productive workers, the finest research universities in the world, an entrepreneurial instinct that is unmatched by any country in the world. And within a decade, North America will be the epicenter of energy in the world, not the Arabian Peninsula. And the way to maintain and take advantage of these great assets we possess is to invest in education as we have in you, in infrastructure to make it the most modern in the world, and in innovation. You know, I used to give commencement speeches in the 90s, Superintendent, and the line some of you will remember, some of you who are older will remember, was that Japan was going to eat our lunch, that Japan was the future. We also used to be told that China, and it's true, is graduating 6 to 8 times as many scientists and engineers as we have. But I challenge you, name me one innovative project, one innovative change, one innovative product that has come out of China. And I want Japan to succeed as I do China. But give me a break. We've been working as well to rebuild the moral foundation of American leadership in the world, championing universal rights and freedoms. President Xi asked me, why do we focus on human rights so much? In one of our long conversations. And I said, Mr. President, you don't understand. Everyone who made their way to America in the first instance came because their human rights were not being totally valued. It's stamped into the DNA of America. For a president to remain silent on abuse of human rights would be a denial of our American heritage. Part of building that moral foundation is the commitment we made to end torture and to close Guantanamo. We must not only lead by the power of our example, we must lead by the example of our power as well. And we've been working hard to modernize and strengthen the security foundation of America, retooling NATO to fit the needs of the 21st century, revitalizing our Pacific alliances with Japan and South Korea and others. In short, maintaining and strengthening our dozens upon dozens of military alliances, something no other nation can match. Secondly, the President spoke today at West Point about how we are redeploying our forces to engage in a more sustainable, effective approach in combating the new face of terror. Now that the wars are ended, we're able to redeploy our security and intelligence capabilities to focus on other parts of the world, from North Africa to Southeast Asia, to adapt to the changing face of terrorism. We're refining our strategy, which includes building up the capacity of our partner countries where terrorists operate and reside, while maintaining the robust capacity to take action when threats are imminent. And that means continuing to invest in the unmatched special forces and intelligence capabilities of the United States military. Third, we're reinforcing international norms that constitute the global rules of the road. International norms regarding nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction. International norms regarding the freedom of navigation on both the seas and in the air. And international norms relating to sovereignty and territorial integrity. And establishing international norms that are still taking shape but are badly needed in the 21st century with respect to cybersecurity, climate change, and global trading. That's why we imposed unprecedented sanctions on Iran, to create the possibility to peacefully address the threat posed by their nuclear program. But whatever means they will not acquire nuclear weapons. It's why we stand up against bullying and aggression in international waters and airspace in the Pacific. Why we condemn Russia's violation of Ukrainian sovereignty and territorial integrity and the illegal annexation of Crimea. And why we will continue to support a democratic Ukraine. And why we're determined to complete international trade agreements to raise the standard of economic conduct in the Atlantic and Pacific. And why we believe it's essential that we make progress on a global framework for climate change. Fourth, the President discussed today why we're rebalancing and deepening our strategic, economic, and diplomatic investments in regions that will shape the 21st century. America is and will remain a resident Pacific power. That power has been essential to the peace and prosperity of that region for the past 7 decades. And it will be equally essential in the decades ahead to knit together Pacific nations from the shores of India to the Americas as part of a security and economic order that delivers peace and prosperity and freedom rather than war and conflict. In the 21st century, that requires stepping up our economic, diplomatic, and military engagement in the Pacific Basin. And by the way, air power over that vast expanse of the Pacific is vital and will have to increase. Fifth and finally, America has to remain a force for dignity and relief from suffering. That's why we have to continue to stand up for basic human rights and democratic principles, speak out against injustice wherever we see it. That's why we have to continue to help and provide people in desperate need and those fleeing war and persecution. And that's why we have to continue to lead the world in fighting hunger and disease, working toward the prospects of an AIDS-free generation. Ladies and gentlemen, my sons, like you, one is chairman of the World Food Health Program in the United States, the largest food agency in the world, and the other is a major in the United States Army who spent a year in Iraq and won the Bronze Star. They're like you. They know what they have to do. They know where America's future lies. And like them, we rely on you. None of this can be carried out successfully without you, without the finest Air Force in the world, owning the skies, space, and cyberspace, providing global reach, global strike capability, nuclear deterrence, and command and control. It's all within your grasp and duty.